Hello and welcome back to the RattleMind podcast. I'm Rye, and join me as my co-host.
Kanchi.
All right, today we're going to talk about scars and stuff. Basically weird things that have happened to us or what has left marks on us.
You haven't lived till you've had a few
Oh yeah,
scary injuries.
and trust me, I have a lot of scars from weird things. So I will share my favorite scar though, which is I have a scar on my right leg that used to run the entire length of my lower right leg that I got.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Like all the
Uh,
way up your calf?
yep, all the way up from the bottom to the top. Of course, I've aged, so that scar has kind of gotten smaller as skin has grown, but I still do
Right,
have
right.
the thickest part of that scar. But here's the story of it. I was camping at with friends and stuff, basically family friends, because it was a whole bunch of us. We were fishing off of a dock, and one of the boards on that dock was loose and would flop about. And I ended up stepping on it, and the wood just scraped straight up my leg.
Mm. Like, did the board break?
Oh, the board was already broken, but it tilted every time you stepped on it. So when, but
How
there
did it hit you?
there was enough of the board because there was a small hole in it where the actual
So your
separation.
foot went through the hole,
Yeah,
the gap?
my foot. I stepped down and ended up hitting the board, and so the board tilted as my leg went through the hole, and then it tilted back
Okay.
up and scraped up my leg.
Mm. And to have a scar that long, I can only imagine the blood loss.
Well,
God.
the best part about this is that um, the dock was at the end of a super steep hill. And when I say super steep, I mean it was like a good. It was super steep. I mean, we had to hold ropes just to go up and down that hill.
Jeez.
Yeah. So
You wanted to rock climb, just go back to that lake.
so I had to climb up that. There were some makeshift steps for it, but I had to climb up that hill holding a rope while my leg was bleeding and covered in blood. And that was only to get halfway towards back to camp.
Oh no, no. I'd be like, airlift me. No, no, no.
So,
Ugh.
and then I had to go up another hill, but it wasn't as steep, that wound through the woods. So, yeah, that was a fun time. And I think I was like maybe 10 or 11.
Oh gosh, you were such a little kid at the time. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so much worse. I imagine your family was hopefully freaking out. I mean, they were just like,
Well,
you know,
it was,
keep climbing, it'll be okay, just walk it off.
well, the thing is that it was just at the fishing dock, it was just my brother, his friend Kevin, and myself.
So it was more of a like bros hanging out situation, and
Sort of. We were
they
fishing,
didn't
but
feel the need to concern themselves
yeah, a little
that
bit.
much. Gotcha.
So, needless to say, they were like, okay, just get up there, you're fine. They didn't care too much.
Mm,
But,
mm,
and you go, no, I was in such a state of mixture of shock and adrenaline that I wasn't even paying as much of attention to how much it hurt as you normally would.
Thank God for that. Yeah, that's the only reason you got up that hill.
Yeah, so it was quite fun. But yeah,
So what'd you do? Just sit in the car
oh,
until they
no,
got done? Like,
no, I got all the way back up to camp. And
oh, it was a camp. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, I
because
get it.
what it was that we it's a lake. It's a gated lake, is what it is. There's three lakes, or no, there's only two, and the dock we were fishing at was off of the larger of the two lakes. So we had the giant hill to go up, and then there was a road that circled around through all the campsites because Kevin's family actually owned property at the lake.
Oh, nice.
And
So was it like a running campsite? Was there a medic there that
no, this is literally just, family,
just
friends, and
campground?
yeah, it's a
Oh, okay,
campground.
okay.
They owned a patch of land within the lake subdivision and stuff like that.
So
So it wasn't like a day camp or
did you go
anything
to the
like that.
hospital? Like,
Nope, that's why I
what
have the
happened?
huge scar.
Okay.
Basically, I got up there, and because I was not screaming in pain or bloody murder, and it didn't seem like, and I made it all the way up the hill without, broken bones or anything like that. We just slapped some band aids
Yes.
on it and let it heal.
I just wrapping duct tape.
Pretty much.
I mean, actually, like I've heard stories of people in the army, like in the midst of fights, like they will legitimately use super glue and duct tape to close wounds in a pinch. So I guess that's not unheard of, but you
Well,
were only 10. Jeez.
yeah.
Uh,
No, I had to have been a little bit older than that. It's
maybe a
hard.
preteen.
Yeah, well, yeah, probably. It's hard to remember because of, so long ago how old you are when these things
I
happen.
have such a spotty memory, and then it's like the older you get, the further away those memories get from you, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like I know exactly how you feel.
So that's one of my scars. I have a handful of others, but any fun scars you got?
Well, I had like most of my scars were like just from being stupid, like I burned myself or cut myself or like while I was working on a project or something. The most notable, I guess you could call it a scar though, is the way that my thumb has been healing. I don't know if you remember when that happened. I'm pretty sure I told you guys about when I cut the tip of my thumb off.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that has been callousing, um kind of funky over the years, but nobody can really tell unless I'm like, hey, look at that, the skin over this tip of my thumb is like, um it's a little lumpy, it's like a little pale, like to this day, like if I hit the tip of my thumb dead on, it'll hurt, but it won't be like excruciating. But anyway, so that happened because I was working in a Kroger bakery at the time, and I was rushing to get stuff done. This is why I don't rush. Okay, I my quality of work plummets if I'm rushed to do anything. But in a setting like the Kroger I was in, it was a nicer Kroger, and they had higher expectations, and you would get griped at if you needed more time to do what you needed to do. But I'm quality over quantity, like
Right.
I will, if I ever get another job, God forbid, that I have no problem saying that like in an interview. I'm quality over quantity. Don't rush me. I'll do a horrible job, just being straight up. But I was rushing this day because I didn't want to face the wrath of what we called the upstairs managers. Their offices were literally upstairs, and they had like a view of the parking lot. Like this Kroger was pretty big, not the biggest size you could find,
Yeah.
but it was pretty. So, part of my job was to tray a bunch of frozen dough to get it in the I can't remember what the thing is called. It's not the freezer. It's kind of like a fridge, but it's really meant to help things thaw and get ready to bake in the morning.
Right.
Like everything came in frozen, like obviously. Um, and it was just in dough form. So like I was working on bagels, and bagels, uh, when they're in their dough form and frozen, they're rock solid. Like you could take someone's eye out with these things. They're pretty solid and they froze together all the time. And usually the remedy for that is like you just like break them apart or bang them against a table or whatever. These two bagels, these two bagels were frozen together, like fused. They were fused together, and I could not get them apart. So I grabbed the first sharp thing next to me, which was a bread knife.
Oof.
If you want to pull up a picture of a bread knife, feel free while I'm telling the story because they are like a foot long. They're serrated, and they're the sharpest knives. You would not expect them to be this sharp, but we literally used these to cut like loaves of bread in half vertically for like garlic bread and stuff. They have to be sharp because you got to get through a whole loaf of bread, you know, like those Italian baguettes and stuff. Those are, yeah, yeah, those look right. Ours had white handles, but yeah, close enough.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I'm trying to find one that actually
That's the
is.
same style and everything, like that black handled one. That one that's like they're cutting the. I keep trying to click the screen share, and it's like I'm like open that picture.
There we go.
But anyway, um, so I grabbed this thing and I wedge it, in a crease where they're fused together, and it doesn't take long for it to free the bagels apart. But it went so fast, and the way I was holding the bagels, my thumb was in the path of this blade, and it lopped off. Not the entire tip, it was like the tip of my thumb.
Yeah.
It was like, um, gosh, how do I describe this? Like the top quarter inch or something. Like it wasn't much of it. Um, and I was just, like you said, just in shock, just in complete shock. And I remember thinking that the last thing I wanted was to be all deformed. Like I thought it would just like be a disgusting deformity, and for some reason like that was the first thought that came in my mind. So what I did was I actually that rounded one, if that had a white handle, that was pretty much what it was that I was using. um so I grabbed paper towels and I put it over the tip of my thumb. I knew I couldn't look at it or I would be grossed out. So I just put it on the tip of my thumb, held my left hand in a fist because it was my left thumb, obviously, and I like dug through the box full of frozen bagels to find it,
Oh,
and I couldn't find it, and I was mortified because I also had a coworker there. Her name was what was her name? Chelsea, I think her name was, and I forget what she was doing, but she wasn't there at the moment. And so I'm digging through this box looking for the tip of my thumb, and when I couldn't find it, and I was just like, my brain was just like so like it was starting to weigh on me what had happened. So I went to
right.
the sink and I rinsed it off some more. That's right. When I put the paper towels on the first time, I did rinse it off and then put the paper towels on. But luckily one of the head chefs was walking by. His name was John. And I was like, hey, Chef Johnson, I need your help. And he was like, he sees me hovering over the sink with my thumb clutched in paper towels, and I'm like shaking, and he's like,
I bet.
and he comes over, he's like, hey, what's up? And I was like, so I cut off my thumb and I showed him. He was like, yep, cut your thumb off. And he immediately gets an upstairs manager, and she comes down. Thankfully, it was one of the nicer ones. She comes down and they're talking. I can't even remember what they were talking about, but I was just standing there listening until my back hit the oven behind me, like, because we had those tall ovens, like those 9 foot tall, like
Yeah.
not 9 foot, but you know what I mean?
Yeah,
They're
the large ones
freaking
for
tall.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because you don't put one tray in an oven at like at big bakeries, you know.
Right.
You have closet ovens, and those terrified me. I hated them. But so my back, I hit the oven door because I was literally this close. You can't see it, but I have very little space between my thumb and forefinger. I was this close to fainting on the spot. And my the upstairs manager was like, she's like, get her to the hospital. We'll sort this out later. And he was like, okay. So he walks with me outside, and it was a very chilly day because it was like in January or something that year. And the cold wind thankfully like woke me up. It like I don't know what it was. I just like was all there again, you know. And
Yep.
we jump in his car and go to the hospital. Um I'm sitting there in this room, like waiting room, filling out paperwork with my right hand, clutching my, you know, severed thumb. Well, that's wrong wording. The the not injured. That doesn't do it justice. You know what I mean? The
Yeah.
clutching my thumb and paper towels and just squeezing the crap out of it to stop the bleeding. You know. Thankfully, it wasn't one of those situations where like blood got everywhere or whatever. You know. And um, I filled out the paperwork. I filled out the what's it called? Workers' comp paperwork. And I go back there and she's taking my blood pressure. She was like, "You are weirdly calm for someone who just cut off their thumb." And I was like, I mean, that's all I can think about is just like trying not to freak out and trying to like stay calm so that I don't lose my shit. Like I don't want to go crazy here, you know? And she was like, "I'd be freaking out." I was like, "Yeah, I'm surprised I'm not." You know? And I get to the doctor, and the worst part about the entire thing, because I wasn't in pain until like that's how clean the cut was too. Like I wasn't in any kind of serious pain, in case you couldn't tell, for me to be able to be doing all this other crap, you know. And I really only tried to faint because of the shock, you know. Like this
Right.
is it's relatively traumatizing, you know. People have been through worse, but I just I was not in any pain until I got to this doctor, and he had some kind of like medicinal sponge thing, and he told me to rub the raw open part against it.
Oof.
And I was like, okay. Like he was like, you don't even have to do it for long, just like like 2 seconds. And I was like, okay, fine. And I have my thumb under cold water in the sink, and I have the sponge in my right hand, and I'm just like bracing myself. Like I'm breathing, like I'm like, okay, I can do this. Whew, I can do this. And he was like, I'll do it. And I was like, no, I got this. Don't touch me. And I finally just slammed the thing against my thumb. And oh my
Mm.
God, the pain was, oh, it was unreal. It was unreal. And he was like, okay, that's good. And I was like, okay. And he was bandaging it up. And he was like, when this heals, you're not even going to know it was there. And I was like, you mean that it wasn't there?
uh,
So, another reason why I didn't want my hand to look mangled though was because like I had just started dating Sunny at the time, and I didn't want him to dump me because like I was stupid enough to let it happen in the first place, and B, now I have this disgusting thumb. And but like he showed up that night because I called him and told him what was going on, and he showed up that night, and he just like stared at me with the most worried face I've
aw.
ever seen. Like he was just like he looked more traumatized than I was. He was so worried about me, and I was like, I'm okay, gee. And my mom came over with like some pain pills, and I can't remember what else she brought me, but like um yeah. And now it's, let's see, that was, if I had just started dating Sunny, that was probably 2014, 15, early 15, something like that. Yeah, if it was January, it would have been 2015. So God, 8 years ago now. And it still calluses weird to this day. Like it'll like it'll like get really white and kind of like scratchy.
Yeah.
So I'll just like cut it off with nail clippers or something while I'm filing my nails down or something, and then it smooths out a little bit, and then wait a few months, and then it builds up again, and it's just kind of it's been working on going back to normal. And
Right.
I took a picture of while I was in the doctor's office. I was feeling brave, so I took a picture of the open wound, and it's in one of my old phones. I'm kind of
Oof.
scared to find. But it was gnarly. It's weird when you see the inside of your finger like that.
Right? I bet.
That's probably the only like that's probably the scariest thing that's ever happened to me injury wise.
Yeah, sounds like it. I mean, I have more scars and stories to go along with them, but that story of yours was quite bad.
And the funny part is they wrote me up because I didn't wear a cutting glove when I
Of course
used
they
the
would.
knife. And I couldn't even argue. It's like uh, I'm sure that's a policy.
Yep.
It's not just for normal use, it's also for every time you pick up one of those bad boys. I see you have found some really cool like brick ovens and
Yeah.
ovens, and there's all kinds of ovens.
It's like before I had the industrial ovens like this up.
Those aren't even what it was.
Really?
It's like it was legit picture a closet,
Huh.
but like with a giant thick metal door.
Something kind of like that one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was like that, but built into the wall, and maybe even a little bigger than that, because what you do is you push the tray in, and there's these hooks that hang from the top, and those hooks, and there's wheels on the bottom, and those hooks will spin while they're cooking. So the oven I'm
Interesting.
talking about is even bigger than that because it had to be able to spin.
Yeah, I probably won't find one like that. At least not a picture. Yeah.
You could try Kroger Bakery oven, see if that gets you anything.
True. We'll just stick with this. We don't need to
Yeah,
scare
go back
people.
down to that one was close enough with the giant tray. Yeah, that one's close enough. Just picture bigger.
Yeah.
That's it. And built into the wall.
Okay. I have another story I could tell, which will be short because we are getting to like the last few minutes of our episode
Jeez,
here.
already? I am so sorry that took so
Well,
long.
each of us took like 10 minutes of talking about our story, so it was pretty good.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
But I do have one. Now, one of my birthdays, my brother got me an X. Let me see if I can find.
Oh, you added the word battle.
There we go. Yeah.
Holy crap. I do know about your weapon collection, not in great detail, but you have talked about it before.
Yeah, I think I've even shared a picture of them all for you to you.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's see if I can find. Oh, the funny thing is about this axe. Well, the real funny thing about the scars I have from this axe is that it came in a cardboard box. So I was running my fingers along the edge of the box so that I could make sure there was no tape keeping the box together. And apparently, there was no cover on the lower third of the axe blade.
Oh
So as I was
my god.
running my fingers, it cut a line across all four of my
Oh,
fingers. And right now,
wait.
I still have a slight scar on my middle finger, my ring finger, and my pinky on my left hand.
Oh my god. That's so irresponsible. Was that part of the act like was there like a slit in the box and like you just kind of like pushed in at that moment where, you know, the
Well,
axe was exposed, the blade was exposed, or like was it the box open? Like,
it was just the way they packaged it. They didn't put any like the way you're supposed to do a blade if you're manufactured for chipping is to put a rubber hose over top of the blade part so you don't actually have something like what happened to me happen. But because this axe had a partial sheath, they didn't do that. They just put the sheath on it. And it ended up slicing my fingers on that lower part. So yeah, it was very interesting. Oh no, I lost her. Oh, are you back?
yep, just
Okay.
ignore that.
All right. But yeah, and it's a
But yeah,
double
that's
sided axe.
insane.
But yeah,
That's so irresponsible.
in fact, I think it's that axe there.
That's a cool axe. That's a really cool axe, and you know it works if you want to mess someone up.
Yep, here it is. It's still wrapped up in bubble wrap from when I moved.
It sounds heavy.
It was just in an awkward place, really.
Oh, okay, okay.
But yeah,
Um,
and the other
yeah,
funny thing is that if you watch the TV show Andromeda, that axe is actually in the show. It's
oh
hanging on.
wow.
It's hanging on one of the walls, and I think Captain Hunt's quarters. I'm not sure, but
Right on.
yeah, it's like, hey, I have that axe. What? What?
So, what was the most painful injury you've had?
Uh, let's see. I'm not 100% sure anymore because most of the ones that have left me with scars have been so long I've forgotten about the pain.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, they sound like pretty clean cuts. I mean, maybe not the dock board, but I mean, it sounded pretty manageable at least, like
Yeah,
kind of scary. Like a lot of pain comes from fear, you know, which is literal and figurative if you think about it. But uh like when you injure yourself and you're just like so scared and in shock and you're just like your brain's reeling, it can seem more painful than it is. But like sometimes it just straight up kills, like
right.
um I'm trying to think. For me, you know, I have a story from when I was a kid, I guess, but so it's really weird. It should have hurt, but it didn't. And my bedroom was in the second story of this little country house in Sydney, Ohio. And it was my sister's in my room. My sister was passed out. And it was nighttime. I couldn't sleep. I was leaning against the screen of the window on the second story of this house. And sure enough, the screen just popped out,
Ooh.
and I went out with it. So um, I just I remember hitting the ground, and I remember crawling to the door and like knocking on the door, you know
Wow.
and my mom was like, I was like, who is knocking at my door in the middle of the night? Because that's weird. Okay, that's actually like kind of scary in the country where there isn't another house for a few miles, and like
Right.
you hear a knock on the door. But she did say that she heard a scream, like she heard me scream. And I guess she ran out though first and like ran around the house, but like she ran the wrong way. Like there's a front and a back entrance. And so like she ran to where, like, under the window, and I guess she like saw the screen and then ran to where I was at the front door and rushed me to the hospital. Like dragged my sister out of bed and we rushed to the hospital. And I was shook. Like I was shook up. But she said that the worst thing was like a bruise on my back and I bit my tongue on impact, and that was it. Nothing serious. And it was so funny because like I told this story to my friend Carly, who's like my one of my best real life friends in the world. And she like would introduce me to people as the girl that fell out of her bedroom window when she was a kid. She was so fascinated by this story. But like honestly, the most painful crap is really just from getting older. Like I had excruciating, extraordinary, all the EX descriptive words here, back pain one day. I just woke up, went to the bathroom, was using the bathroom, just sitting on the toilet, minding my own business when just suddenly it hit me. And I was like in tears. And I clean up as best I can. And I like kind of hobble over to bed and I like have to lay down so slowly because literally every motion I made hurt my back. It didn't matter. It just did not matter. And like David was there, thank God, to like he got me my heating pad. He got me something to drink and like I could only like lift my head a couple inches off the pillow. But like that's probably one of the worst pains I felt in a very long time was when my back just decided to just implode, you know?
Right. Oh, back pain is debilitating. I mean, it does not take
I
much.
called off work. And my boss even texted me like later in the day just to like see if I was still gonna make it. And I was like, nah, it's not happening. Sorry.
All right. With the story of back pain done behind it and everything, I think that's a good part for us to stop this episode.
Alrighty, we didn't even get to your sinus surgery.
No, we'll get there someday.
Yeah, that's a good story. It's a really good story.
But I want to thank everyone for mostly listening. We've only had a handful of images to go
Visuals.
along, yeah, visuals.
Yeah.
So, thank you so much. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, follow, whatever the things are. Anything you'd like to say before we go?
Uh, Thank you, as usual. Uh, Let us know in the comments what your injury stories are. There's a lot of really good ones out there that some are squeamish, some are fascinating, some are hard to think about, but let us know. I want to hear all your injury stories.
All right. I can't wait to read them. So, until our next episode, later.